Hey everybody, I know I haven't done a video in a while, but I have been busy. I know I say that all the time, but I have been really busy. And also I tried to do like several videos. Several times I tried to do some videos and my iPhone would not upload it to YouTube. I don't know if it was my iPhone or if it's YouTube or what, but it just would not work. So even though I tried to upload several videos, doing that, it wouldn't work. And basically, I gave up for a while. But I did want to share something with you today that I'm wondering if other people out there are actually trying to do this as well. I don't care, from what basically religious standpoint or whatever, but this is what we need to be doing. And, I have my views and philosophies on theology and religion and all that, but basically that has nothing to do with you just trying to be something good. And as I've gotten older, I've noticed that instead of basing my decisions off of, I don't know, saying that this makes me feel good or this makes me happy, I've been basing my decisions off of whether it's a good decision, not just for me, but for everybody involved, whether it affects me or the whole world or whatever. I've been basing my decision off, how's it going to affect everybody around me, and how's it going to affect me in my future? Because if we just rely on emotion, are we not different than an animal? Are we not different than a baby? A baby cries when it wants something to eat. A baby cries when it needs its diaper change. It doesn't care whether mommy's sleepy or busy or whether mommy's worked all day. It doesn't care. And animals are the same way. They bite things when they're scared. When they're hungry, they eat things. And, that's just the animalistic side of people. The animalistic side of animals, and you just do whatever you feel you want to do. But at some point we need to rise above that and grab onto our humanity and what separates us from animals, which is being able to use reason and rational thinking and logic, and just at some point mature and grow out of that and say, okay, I'm doing this. Now, is this good for me? Is this good for everybody around me? Is it good for the world? And do you not want to be something that adds to the light in the world, all the positive things in the world, the good things in the world that make us happy? Or do you want to be something that adds to the darkness and the negativity and all of those things? So, basically, that's what I've been trying to do. And I know some people don't really understand that. It's kind of weird when you try to explain that to certain people and they get this blank stare on their face like, yeah. And they're really nice about it and everything, but basically that's what they do. And it's kind of crazy because I'm thinking, geez, why don't they understand this? Do they think? Do they think about things like this? Do they think about what their purpose is and how they affect everyone around them and whether they add to the goodness or not? Okay. I can give you examples on so many levels. I can give you examples on, I can't even begin to tell you how many levels there are. This just how this applies to us and how this really is the best way to live our life. But I do know, I do know one example that you might be able to, if not even, you may not agree, but you will understand where I'm coming from. But I'm a vegetarian. I wasn't always a vegetarian. I was raised right here in Waverly, Tennessee, and that's a very big carnivorous society in this state. And so what happened was I had been looking into things about health, and they were talking about your pH balance in your body, whether it's alkaline or acidic, what it's supposed to be, how that affects you and your physical attributes of your body, your mentality, etc., etc. It went into talking about also in these things that were, and these are like published papers that you can read from colleges and universities and teaching hospitals and stuff like that. So it's not like this is like hitting or anything, but we do have industries out there with an agenda, and they do use propaganda to make you believe things that are not so. Do you remember the it does a body good thing? The milk commercials, does a body good. And they literally made them quit saying that because they couldn't prove it medically. They got sued, and they were not able to say that anymore. That's why, milk, it does a body good. You don't hear that anymore. Anyway, all these different things like that. But I started reading about how, every time all these people had all these different illnesses, it could be heart attack or stroke, it could be, cancer, it could be just diabetes and all this stuff. First thing they tell them to do is get off all the refined sugars and all the meat and dairy. They were like, oh, limit this and limit that. And I'm like, wow, what is the common denominator in all these different things? And it was usually always refined sugars, preservatives, food dyes, and meat and dairy. Every time, that's what it was. And so I started looking into that, and then come to find out, we don't even need animal products for our protein intake. We don't even need the amount of protein that they said we needed. So basically what I did was did my homework and saw what do we need. And they were just saying, well, eat a very balanced vegetarian diet. And you got that, right? So I did. I changed all that. Not only did I get off the preservatives and the refined sugars and, all the junk food that's prepackaged and all that, and started eating more of a whole food diet, I also cut out my dairy and meat. Now, I do still do some dairy, somewhat. It's not often. But I don't, drink it on a general basis or use it. I have found alternatives that are just as good, if not better, that come from natural food sources, and they're not synthetic. They're not made out of chemicals, blah, blah, blah. But basically, what I'm telling you is that the meat and dairy industries are the two largest food industries in this nation, and they use their propaganda well to make you think that you need them. People grow up on these things. And yes, there's a lot of things that taste a lot better with them. There's a lot of things that don't require it at all. And it's just a mindset. It's just a diet that you're used to. When you go to a different country, it'll be totally different. And but what I'm trying to tell you is that I was sitting there at this point, and when I realized this, I'm thinking, okay, now I can sit here and try to rationalize that, meat and dairy is something that I need in my body. Well, okay, I couldn't do that then because now I know that I don't need meat and dairy. From a scientific, logical, rational, reasonable research into that, I know for a fact that I don't have to have that level of protein in my body, nor do I have to have it from animal sources. So then I had to think, okay, well, if I don't need that, then all these animals that cause all these problems that you cannot deny, that factory farming these animals not only pollute the world, but take away food sources that we could be using for human consumption. And it's also causing an immeasurable amount of suffering to these animals. And psychological suffering to these people that have to deal with this, that they don't recognize it. They may not know it consciously. Well, a lot of them will admit it if you look it up. But it's terrible. It's terrible all the way around. So if I sit there and say, well, I really like that food, then that would be me rationalizing, I don't know, supporting it by buying it and still eating, supporting the negative effects that it has on everybody, individually and worldwide, and this earth itself. Okay, so what I had to do was say, okay, all right, just because it's going to make it hard for me at family dinners, although it really doesn't, I just pot a casserole or something, even though it's going to make it harder for me to eat out, only in Waverly though. I mean, I can go to Dixon and Nashville and anywhere else and eat just perfectly fine. But, and because it's going to make me have to change my whole way of eating, my diet, how I cook, etc., I still couldn't find those three things even beginning to be enough to rationalize what that supports with me continuing to eat animal byproducts. So, I don't know. That's just a part of maturity. It wasn't because I was like, I don't like meat all of a sudden. No, I was raised on meat. I like meat just like the next people. Well, I used to love the way it tasted, but I don't miss it so much now, but it was pretty rough for a while. But basically, I mean, I couldn't let that be something that I'm going to rationalize and wish that I had done something different later on, because I know what I'm supporting by continuing eating from those zones. So this is what I'm talking about. I'm not saying that you need to be vegetarian. That's not the point. What I was doing was using it as an example. Okay, I went in there, I researched it, I logically looked at everything, okay, and I didn't try to rationalize it. And I used reason and logic and scientific, I made sure that I studied it. And I know what the truth is. And I know what is really going on out there. So, the cows are not standing out in a pasture that's perfectly green with maybe 3 other cows around them looking happily while they're chewing their cud. It's just not even close to being like that. If you saw what's really going on, it's horrendous. But basically, my point is that for me to sit back and try to push that back in my head and rationalize it, it's just like a baby. It's immaturity. It's animalistic. And it's not using what God gave us that separates us from the animals. Reason and rational thinking and an ability to reason and care and, make a difference and change. So Basically, that's the kind of things I'm talking about. It doesn't even have to be about what you eat, but in your love life, your sex life, which should be not existent unless you're married or with somebody, your significant other, permanently. I mean, those things cause problems when we just go around and treat something so sacred, special, and awesome, so not sacred, special, and awesome. All these different things in our life that we were given, we should, these abilities to have a rational thought, to be able to reason, to be able to use logic and to understand why something does something and why something doesn't do something, and how to handle life and whether we should contribute to certain things. This is part of growing up. This is part of being mature. This is part of maturity in our walk. And I see so many people just completely skipping over this part. And I'm thinking, wow. I mean, I don't want to be living in a generation of people that when I get older, all they're good at is doing self-portraits with their tongues hanging out or some duck face. You know, I mean, the older people that I like to talk to have wisdom. They've lived life to the fullest. And they've had really bad negative things that's happened to them in their life, and they've had really good negative things in their life. They have regrets. They have things that they're proud of that they did. And these people have lived life, and they've actually used their brain, their logic. Just, it's different now, though. People don't. People just listen to what they're told. People just have opinions according to whatever the news says or whatever is popular, whatever is politically correct at that moment. It's ridiculous. Nobody has any opinions anymore. Nobody thinks things serious. Nobody says, hey, well, okay, before I make a decision about abortion, why don't I figure out everything I can possibly know about it before I make a decision, instead of just saying, oh, it's the woman's right, because it's also the baby's right, and it's also the freaking dad's right, who might want to raise that child. But even though he might want to raise that child, and it is partly him, okay, he has no right. He has no right because the woman carries it. I know you want to rationalize it, but, that's also called being selfish. There's two other lives, that have to do with that, and most women don't even consider that. But don't get me started. But basically, all I wanted to do was kind of share with you that no matter whether you agree with me or not, the best thing you can do is look at any matter, look at any subject, topic, any opinion of any other person, and before you come up with your own, make sure you've done your homework. I'm so sick of people saying the same politically correct responses to any question they've been asked to. Like, oh, well, I don't care what they do as long as they don't bother me. Well, what they do is going to affect you. Whether it's directly or indirectly, whether you feel it immediately or it's going to be delayed, it affects you. Everything that happens in this world affects everything else. Whether it's a small decision or a big one, it does. You may not feel it or see it immediately, but it affects you and it affects everybody else around you. And what I'm trying to get at here is that everybody walks around like they can live their life, doing whatever they want, making all the mistakes they want, scarring all the people they want, scarring all the world they want, whatever they want, and that, they don't think about it. It's their kids or somebody else that's got to pay for it. And I'm just really tired of people not thinking and just walking around with these regurgitated, politically correct, so-called opinion. It's not an opinion. It's just somebody else has told you that's what's best, and it sounded kind of good to you, so you went with it. You haven't even thought it through. And I mean, I've been that person, so it's not like I'm saying that I wasn't. But, really, honestly, I think this is a part of maturity when we actually grow up and say, hey, I always thought this, but, I'm going to look into it. And I'm going to make sure that I make decisions that, no, they don't feel good. No, they may make you scared, lonely. They may make you sad and all that, but basically they're feelings that they're decisions that are going to be based on you trying to make the right decision for everybody. And here's my philosophy. I want to add to the positive things in the world. I don't want to add to the negative things in the world. We've had plenty of that. I want to be part of the light that's in the world. I don't want to add to the darkness in the world. It's always going to exist. And I don't want to be a part of it. I really don't. I don't want to lay on my deathbed wishing I'd done this and done that. I want to do everything to the best of my ability. And if I still make mistakes, hey, I'm trying to make the right decision. I still will probably make many wrong decisions. But I know I will. But, I'm going to give it my all. And I don't ever have to go back and worry about saying that I did it because everybody else thought this was the way to do it. I want to do it because I looked into it and I figured out that this would be the best thing to do. So I hope that you guys can do the same thing. And we'll all be a better world for it. And I hope to hear your comments. Shalom.